What's up guys, Asian here again with another theory crafting video, and today we're going to be discussing kind of jewelry traits and what my personal thoughts are on jewelry traits for tanks. So there's a lot of discussion on a couple of discords that I'm in asking about whether you should go in harmony for your jewelry traits as a tank, or you should do something like infused, or go triune, or robust, or healthy. So this is kind of my thinking. So this is kind of what I posted in the Hellfire Dominion Discord when somebody asked about the harmony traits. So generally what I think of when I'm tanking is, I don't really think of necessarily a kind of I think of two things basically. One, I think of the fight. The fight is the most important thing. So which trial am I running that night? So for example, Cloud Rest, I intend on running 1 Swift and 2 Harmony, because Baneful Mark implies that healing debuff on you, and you got to get rid of it by healing all the way up to full. With 2 Harmony, I get about 70% additional heals from a Blood Altar synergy, and with Major Mending, Major Vitality, or not Major Mending, but Major Vitality, Minor Vitality active, I can heal for a lot off of that synergy, plus the Energy Orb synergy as well. So that just helps me get up to full faster. So Harmony is very strong there for that specific reason. It might not necessarily be as strong in other trials though. For example, a Pinnacle Factotum, if you're the main tank, you might want to use Harmony for the same reasons. If you get stuck with the Steam debuff, then you might want that additional Harmony for the Blood Altar synergy, so you can survive a little bit easier while you have that debuff on you. But the other thing that I think about is kind of the general thing, sustain. How well am I able to sustain running Harmony versus something like an infused reduce block cost glyph? And so I kind of did math here, and this is kind of the explanation here. So I'll just read through it for you. So Orbs and Shards return a base 3960 resources. This is pretty much flat across the board, and we are ignoring the additional half that Shards also give back. That's not really that important. So you can use Orbs or Shards every 20 seconds. So once you use one, you got to wait 20 seconds to get to use it again. So this gives you an effective 198 regen per second on stamina. So if you're running through Harmony, that increases the resources you get back by 105%, so they stack additively. So that pushes you to 8,118 resources every 20 seconds, which works out to be about 405 additional regen per second. So that's how much additional regen you're able to get if you're running 3 Harmony, and this is of course assuming you have block cost as well. Now, an infused legendary reduced block cost glyph reduces block cost by 324 stamina, and non-infused reduces it by 203 stamina. So you gain 121 additional regen per second if you think of it as how much stamina am I saving every time I block. So running 3 of those will net you an additional 363 regen per second if you're blocking 1 attack per second. Now remember that the block cost cooldown is every quarter second, so every 0.25 seconds you can get that cost reduction. So if you're blocking, let's say 2 or 3 hits or even 4 hits per second, evenly spaced out, then you could actually be losing 4 block costs per second, and that can happen if you have like ads or something like that in group, or if your boss is hitting you for more than once per second. Like for example, in Rakat, if you use the machine gun, you're blocking for more than 1 time per second because it hits about every half second. So then in order to figure out where that break-even point is, you basically need to take 363, multiply it by the anticipated attacks per second, and you compare that to 405. So that basically in mathematical terms ends up being 363 times x equals 405. So you have to solve for x, so you divide 405 by 363 and you get 1.1 attacks per second. So if you are getting hit by more than that or equal to that, then infused block cost glyphs will be better than Harmony glyphs, just purely looking at a sustain perspective, just like how well you're able to sustain your stamina. And this is of course also assuming that you're permanently blocking, not like heavy attack weaving or anything like that, so to gain additional resources back. So that's kind of the way that I view things. So for me, generally speaking, from a sustain perspective, I prefer having the infused block cost glyph or infused reduced feat cost glyph, just because that ends up being a little bit better more generically. So no matter what fight, it's always going to be useful. Harmony, however, is still very strong. It's really, really useful if you're able to get those orbs or shards every 20 seconds, basically, on that synergy cooldown. If you're not able to do that, if you're getting them every 25 seconds or 30 seconds, that effective additional regen per second here, that 405 or the 198, that starts to go down. So that's when, like an infused reduced block cost glyph starts ending up looking a lot better. Now, like I said, there are going to be situations in certain fights where you might want to run different glyphs. Just so, for example, you might want to do Harmony in VCR for the Baneful Mark. And then you also have to consider something like Triune or Robust or Healthy. So the thing with tanking is there's a lot of flexibility that is involved in tanking. You have to have a lot of different sets. You have to have a lot of different mindsets. You have to have, and that contributes to traits and on your jewelry pieces, on your weapons, and everything. So what I highly recommend you do is you think about what you're tanking at the moment for your vet trials. So maybe you're in a progression style guild and you're progressing through like AS hard mode. In that instance, you might want to run something like Healthy, so you get a little bit more health, or maybe Triune if you're finding yourself running out of resources a little bit too much. Sustain on the tanks, ever since they introduced Deep Thoughts, has been pretty good, even on non-DK tanks. You shouldn't necessarily think of it from the perspective of how many resources am I getting back, but you might want to think of it like a more holistic scenario. Will I have enough stamina in those instances where I need this stamina? So if, for example, I'm running 2 Robust on my Alkos jewelry right now because I like to have the additional stamina. I'm a Dark Elf, so I have additional magicka, so it's helpful to have the additional stamina for all of my setups. But I might shift over to, I might get like another pair of Ebon rings and have them be Harmony or maybe infused in order to help up my sustain. It's kind of figure out what you need for that specific situation and then go for it. But I just thought I'd share kind of the mathematics behind Harmony versus infused, just purely from a sustain perspective, and assuming permanent blocking and everything. This is, again, very, very idealistic. This is like in a vacuum, essentially, not considering anything else that's going on. You're not considering anything like Worm. You're not considering anything like light attack weaving or heavy attacking or anything like that. You're not, you're not considering, what sets you're wearing. Maybe your healer's wearing Hercines or something like that. Yeah, you never know. But generally speaking, Infuse is going to be a little bit better when it comes to general fights. But Harmony definitely has a place. So definitely, again, you want to be flexible with your traits. I know this is going to suck. You're probably going to have to farm several different jewelry pieces, but that's what I do. That's what one of my tanking friends does. He has several sets of Ebon, which he swaps out depending on the fight that he's doing. So, I might have like a Swift to Harmony for Cloud Rest Alkos jewelry, but then for like Kraglorn Trials, I might have 3 infused. Or for VMAW, I might have like, or not VMAW, Hoff, I might have 1 Harmony, 2 infused. So definitely play around a little bit. There's no right answer basically to this question. It's all based on what you need for that specific scenario. So that's it for this video. If you guys have any questions or comments, please feel free to leave them down in the comment section below, so I will take a read at them and I'll try to get back to you. Hope you guys found this video informative, and I will see you guys in the next dungeon.